Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Napier, and I am here for a very exciting 30 minutes, and that's an interview with Shawn Dunwoody, who is a renowned artist and social activist. But before we start, I really want to say thank you to Laura Barstone and her students here who are shooting this entire interview, so thank you very much. And I also want to say thank you from the Partners in Napier team and the Edison Tech students for just taking time to be here with us today. That's really great of you to take your time. So we're going to get going, okay? Because we now have about 28 minutes and we don't want to miss any of this. I was just telling Shawn how I'm just like a real advocate for street art. I really believe it changes a community. So from very early on, I've always believed in the power of creativity to change the world. And I think that so because of that, I really want to focus our conversation today on your creativity and your work. Okay?
Good. Yep.
So first, as a leader in the Black community, in the art community, and for anyone passionate about social change, in your mind, how does art and social justice intersect?
How does art and social justice intersect? Sorry, I always have to repeat the question so I can figure out what I'm going to say to you. What hasn't been scripted? How does that actually happen? I guess social justice, when I think about social justice, I think about, let's take, for instance, a protest or an uprising. Let's take that for an example. Let's take throughout the history, these revelations, these movements that have happened, all right? We talk about these riots or these revolts or these stands that people take. When they actually take that, it's actually based upon an artist or artistic approach. People may not think that much. When you have your protest signs, that's actually a form of visual art, and you're spreading messages, and that's literary arts. Even back to the days when they would, I don't know if they were actually chiseling stuff on the wall, ching, 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 to be like, hey, we don't like this dictator. To your marches, which is in dances and movements and poetry and spoken word. So the way to actually move and evolve as a people has always been arts-based and connected. So I think I don't really see a separation. I see they go hand in hand. Of course, you've had, silent protests and silent movements, but that, once again, is an artistic expression of how one does that. I don't think you can have a movement forward without the arts being part of that. I don't know what you would be doing. Maybe, I don't know what they're just eating in protest. I don't know what you would do. I don't know. But it needs those elements. It needs those elements that touch the different parts, the different senses of who we are. Who we are as human beings, who we are as connected folks, who we are as this human species on this planet. It has to hit all these different points. So when you're talking about social change, you have to have different movements and different touch points. And we know that there's variations in all different types and forms of art that touch people in different ways, and that's where I see social change and art going hand in hand. It just has to. You can't change anything without first the idea of imagination. Imagination becomes reality, and so when one imagines, they begin the world. They create the process. So creativity, imagination begins the actual evolution and the piece and the product that it becomes, the movement, whatever it may be. It always starts with an imagination, an idea. Ideas become reality. It may take time for it to become reality for a particular people, but it will become reality. I mean, heck, we're driving in cars. Someone had this idea, this creativity. I'm still waiting for my Jetsons flying jet, though. We haven't gotten there yet, but I see them going hand in hand. I hope I answer your question, because I like to get riled up and going.
No, I love it. We're going to go a little deeper into your art. So I'm going to ask a few questions, because I know you'll just go off. But how does the community inspire your art? You're in a lot of communities, and does your art and how does your art impact the community? And maybe a little deeper is, what comes first, the idea or the location? And how does the notion of space influence your art? So someone asked you to come in and do a beautiful piece of art on a side of a building. And so do you take time and do you walk by it? Do you think about it? How do you start the process?
How do you start?
Or does somebody ask you, I want you to do this? I'm sure they don't.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes I'm just creating something. Let's think about this. Let's really try to analyze this. Now you're making me think about what the hell do I do with myself. besides, you
Because
know.
you got buildings in the background, or grass in the background, or weeds growing up. Like, you're all over the place.
Yeah, I actually am all over
You're
the
all over
place.
the place.
But it's one of those things where that approach, I guess that approach, I'm gonna go back to, and I tell this story often, but I want to go back to why I do what I do. And some folks might have heard this, but you know, growing up northeast side of Rochester in Le Crescent, I'm still in Le Crescent. For those of you who are listening and don't know what crescent is, that's considered, it's like a half moon, considered the poorest areas in Rochester, underserved, they like to say. But where you will find the most creativity are in these areas where people are underserved because they don't have the resources. You have to realize, once again, jazz music was created in underserved, underrepresented communities and affected the world. Hip hop was created in underserved and underrepresented
Great
communities.
analogies.
That
Great
changed the
analogies.
world.
Yes.
They're busting a sag in Russia, in China, and in Istanbul. They rapping and breaking. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
But so growing up, you think because you're underrepresented, underserved, you don't have access or know these things or don't see these things are happening. So I've always wanted to be an artist and didn't really have those outlets or connections to people to go that route. And so I actually, being in Edison, this is my alma mater. I got thrown out of here in 1990.
I told them the story.
Yeah,
They liked it.
I got kicked out of here for all kinds of nonsense, running these halls, doing other things, rolling dice where the welding stuff is. I don't even know if they got that over here, selling weed, all the stuff, smoking. So I got sidetracked. So what eventually happened is, while I was here, 17 years of age, that's when I had my first child, so I had 3 kids, broke, on social service, welfare, and still wanted to be this creative, this artist, wanted to do that, but there was no one I could see doing that. So I didn't know how to do that. So when I talked to my social worker, I'm like, yeah, I want to be X, Y, and Z. I want to do this. And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. Just get a job and shut the hell up, which was still hard to do and making enough ends meet to feed a family. So we fast forward a little bit. I ended up attending MCC, Monroe Community College, and made friends with some professors who kind of took me under their wing and said, hey, you've got something there, even though I the hell didn't see it. They're like, hey, you've got something there. You've got some sort of creative spark. And I remember they took me on a trip to New York City, okay? Every year.
First time ever?
No, it wasn't the first time ever.
Okay,
I must have been about 21, 22.
Okay.
Not first time ever, but they have this annual trip for artists to go take a look at New York City, and I wanted to go, and I didn't have the money to go. I couldn't afford it. And they told me, oh no, there's a scholarship fund to have you go. I was like, oh, that's great. So I tried to scrap together a little bit of money I had. I got together $50 in New York City for. Well, I was starving. There was no way I was going to survive. No. I remember that.
Ramen noodles.
Yeah,
maybe.
I spent it just dinner. I was done basically. But I remember the bus ride home, just starving. But while I was in New York City, I started getting to assemblage. Picking found objects and piecing them together. So I come back. I got all this trash that I collected from New York City. I'll get to your point in just a minute.
That's okay. I love it.
Started assembling these pieces. I got my first show and I started piecing together lost objects and tell the story of African Americans here in America. How when I would take objects off the street that most people don't look at with any regard, they spit on them, they whatever, step over them. And I took that as sort of a connection to how people treat people of color here in this country. And when reassembled and reconnected and re-put together in a different fashion, we can actually elevate ourselves and elevate how people view us. So I was on that circuit and doing these things, and it was great, and I'm showing them my galleries and doing all this great stuff. And I thought, wow, I'm lecturing and talking to people. I thought, this is phenomenal. This is what I wanted to be, the artist. I'm sipping wine and I'm fancy and all that shit, But I was talking about this. I was addressing an audience that no one looked like me, and I asked myself, what am I doing? Do these people really give a damn about anything I'm talking about? Are they ever going to come to my neighborhood and do anything? So I closed up shop on doing that type of artwork and said, I need to be what I wanted to see when I was 15 years old. So if I can't affect any change down the street at my corner store, if I can't do anything here, what's the good of me sitting in this university lecturing on how great people think I am and the deepness of my artwork? If I can't touch, this sounds weird, if I can't touch a kid, that sounded awkward. But if I can't touch a young person, that still sounds weird. But be connected to someone to say, hey, I can do this. I can do that because I saw if he can do it, I can do it. And so that's what led me into public artwork, because I wanted to be a black man creating artwork in the community that other black and brown people could see actually happen, to say, oh, you can do it and you can make a living at that. How do you do it, mister? Start to explain and tell those stories. So and you asked, how does that affect community and affect people? Okay. I'll give two stories. I'll give you two stories about how this connected. Oh, and I should mention, when I said I got that scholarship to MCC, and I said earlier that those professors and friends believed in me, there was no such thing as a scholarship. They actually they got together the money and actually paid for it because they felt there was something that was valuable.
You're telling that story today.
Yes.
Which I love. Yeah.
So two things happened. One of the first, positions being City of Rochester Public Art Coordinator, I had a group of young people. We'd work together and paint things. In particular, we wanted to target corner stores, because corner stores are always advertising to us cold beers, cigarettes, EBT, whatever. Nothing wrong with all that stuff, hey, I indulge in some of these things. But we felt, if we could send a positive message, advertisers are selling us something they got us for 4 seconds. For 4 seconds, and they get us to buy whatever alcohol they're trying to sell us, or cigarettes, or lottery, whatever it may be. Can we have 4 seconds of someone's mind space to have them think about themselves and believe in themselves? And one of the earlier pieces we did was on Hudson and Durnan, which has since been painted over, where Officer Peterson was actually killed. We started painting it. We talked to the store owners. We said, what do you want to do? And talked to community. They said, you want people to believe in yourself. So we started off painting this big B and this U and yourself, and it was across from a bus stop, because in most cases people are waiting for a bus stop for 15 minutes or so why not give them a bit of inspiration? We started painting it off brown. And then we ran out of brown paint, so the next day we came back, started painting it over blue. And at the time, I don't know what was going on. These cats came walking up to us saying, hey, that's the wrong color. Obviously, they were saying I should be painting it red, because whatever, this wasn't that kind of, this wasn't Crip territory, or whatever it may be. But as we kept working and they saw us painting, I asked, is this bad? Is this bad? They're like, nah, man, it's all right. This is cool. So as we're painting it, it says, believe in you. Mom walks up with her 3 kids and a young boy, I'll never forget it. And he asked, Mom, what does it say? And she said, believe in yourself. So by reading something off the wall, she gave those words to that young man. The cats that were running their pharmaceutical business on the corner, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, when they were making their exchanges, they would tell each other, yo, believe in yourself, yo, and doing the thing. I thought, this is something that you can actually do. This is how some change comes about. And that's where you're not when you're not there, how does it affect people? So I'll fast forward a few years. I had taken a group of young people. I did the Fruit Belt Project on Jay and Grape, which in 2013 was considered the 7th most dangerous neighborhood in America. We did the Fruit Belt Project. I took some young people to Brazil. There's a documentary about it. It aired on PBS WXXI one year. Working with a group of students on Clifford Avenue. We're painting Pissarros. We got the input from the community. Once again, cats are around the corner, running the pharmaceutical business. They're small business. They're small-time entrepreneurs trying to grow their business. In between, they're rolling a little bit of dice. And this young man, walks up to me and say, hey, yo, weren't you you was in Africa or something like that, weren't you? I was like, Africa? I wasn't in Africa. I would love to go to Africa. He's like, nah, I saw you on TV. You was in Africa. I was like, wait. I was like, that was Brazil. I was like, oh, brother, that's on point. So this brother, running his micro pharmaceutical business, rolling dice, is watching public access television, watching WXXI, and was like, he enjoyed the film that he watched and could actually say, you're doing good work, brother. And I told him, you keep doing good work yourself. Yeah. And these are those kind of connections and points, and that goes back to what I said. I wanted to be what I wanted to see when I was a young person. And so that's why I have made those connections and made that sort of devotion to put work in the public realm. I mean, I have work in museums or what have you, but I want people on the streets to be able to engage, see it, be inspired, and take it where they need to take it.
I mean, it's the basic of communication. Engage people at the right time and at the right place, and then create a conversation around it. So that's what you've done. I really, really love that. Is there one piece that you particularly love, and why?
Is there one piece I particularly, you know what, I tell people all the time, it's like, you know, when you have children or you have pets or whatever, everyone has their own personality and how they connect with you or connect to you. And so I really don't have a favorite, when I'm done with each one of them, I think they all suck. And I'm like, man, this is terrible. I should have did this, should have did that. So I can't say I have a favorite, but I would say I have, there's a piece that I did that I found, a piece that I did that had nothing to do with me that I truly enjoyed was in 2020, we had a lot of uprisings, a lot of things going on. The city calls me and says, what can we do? Can we do something, And actually prior to that, news folks were calling me because they figure, oh yeah, you're a black guy. Can you talk about these things? I'm like, I'm not talking about that stuff because I'm going to talk. I got to do something. I can't just sit here and chat. Yeah.
I'm going to talk.
So the city comes to me and says, all right, can we do something? I was like, they're like, can we do the thing they did in D.C. and paint the street, Black Lives Matter? I was like, sure, we definitely can do that. So this may get a little long, but I'll bring it all back.
Okay.
All right, sorry, Sharon. Sorry.
Come on, no, I love this.
So the initial plan was to paint Black Lives Matter on Main Street. All right. So I'm like,
right where it is, over by Martin Luther Park.
It was going to be over the bridge. It was going to be over the Main Street Bridge. That was the initial plan.
Okay.
All right. So with everything going on, there's a sort of a paint shortage happening as well. So I call my guys at Sherwin-Williams and I'm like, all right, I need some paint. I need about 100 gallons, a little over 100 gallons of yellow paint. And they're like, we can't do that because we don't have enough yellow base in the region, Western New York.
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, let me do green. Green will work. They're like, dude, that's the same base you would need to make green. I'm like, okay. They're like, what can you do? They're like, we could do blue. I said, let me think about this. And so for those of you who may not understand what was going on, you have these sort of rivaling stories. So you got Black Lives Matter, and you got people saying Blue Lives Matter, even though I've never seen anyone born blue, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm debating, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Because I have to think this is going in the public realm, and what am I saying when I do this? So when you wait patiently, once again, the ideas, the creativities flow. So being that it was going to be over the river, I realized our connection. Our Genesee River flows north to south, just like the Nile River, which the ancient Kemetic, those people, which they call Egyptians, were brown. These people shaped the world, figured out the world was round. They also created the color blue. And that's our connection to our African heritage and who we are and brown people creating this world. That's what I thought was great. Wow. I get a call the next day. We're not painting Main Street. I was like, wait a minute, I just made all those connection points. They moved it to Court Street. I said, okay, well, what I've got to do it because I've got over 100 gallons of blue paint just sitting right there, so we got to do it. In most cases, I have a community painting. With this, I couldn't do that because I knew people wanted to be engaged so much.
Right.
I had to just have select people do this and city employees because I would have way too many people show up if I asked them to come paint this. So we paint it, we put it out there, get it done. I'm out there maybe 2 o'clock in the morning getting things done, on my knees doing little touches. Hits the next morning, I get 2 things happening. People are asking me, what kind of political stance are you making? Were you coerced to do this and paint this blue? Why'd you put it on Court Street? Are you trying to say that Black lives need to be in court? I got a lot of stuff from my own people and other folks. But I remained quiet and calm. And I realized, and one person actually spoke and said it best. They said, you know what? I saw this guy here until 2 o'clock in the morning making sure this message would get out. He is a Black life. Leave the brother alone. And things did subside. And one of the great things that happened was I realized being on Court Street made much more sense to that connection because the people that were in the building looking down from Court Street.
Yes, I know. I live right over there. Yeah, I know.
A lot of these people in these buildings have talk shows, and just 2 days prior to us painting that, 2 radio hosts were fired for saying they were acting inwardingly. They were fired. So this was actually a message to them. And so they saw that. And their radio station took photographs of it and sent it out to the listeners. So this had a whole different effect that I did not see. So with that painting that street, the condition of me painting that street is I wanted to paint Martin Luther King Jr.'s amphitheater, the bowl, completely black. I said, I will paint Black Lives Matter on the street, but I need that bowl painted black. I said, because this is where people are gathering. When people gather, as I told you before, about a protest, that energy, when they come, they're all gathered, everyone's moving, the movement's there. But once they leave, that energy dissipates. It needs some place to go. It needs some place to go. So I felt, why not turn the whole thing into a chalkboard? And I'm going to leave chalk and let people say what they want to say. We're in the height of a pandemic. We can't be in contact with our own family members. We're enraged to actually see how much abuse is happening to people in this country, in our own city. We need to have a way to get this out, a way to have messages. And so I felt if I could paint the whole thing black, it's just me painting walls black. I had community members help. And the first initial round of community members that helped me were 99% black women with their children who helped me paint that in. And so to give people that voice, once again, art and social activism, that's what I wanted to say. Yep. So 4 hours later, the walls were covered. The ground is covered. People are leaving messages. It was important for people who were afraid to actually go to a protest, for health reasons couldn't show up, timing-wise, whatever it may be, to actually still feel that energy and feel that connection and leave a message. And so when you create space and place, as you talk about affecting space and place, it became a destination for people to actually leave messages, read messages. A young man.
Graffiti all over. Yeah.
And it was just chalk. And what made it beautiful was when it rained, it was gone. Yeah. But it always came back, and there was always chalk. I only put chalk out once. Sorry, I'm going with this story because it connects to one of my favorite. That's one of my not my favorite pieces, but I enjoy how everyone made that piece become what it is. And
that was the community's
art.
That
was the community's art. It was a community space, which then tipped another scale because people were going at all different hours of the day, that the city actually did put some extra lighting because people were out there at 3 o'clock in the morning reading messages. I was out there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I won't tell you what I was doing, but I was painting and stuff. But it just became the people's place, and that's what I find is important. That one I enjoyed because it had nothing to do with me. No one knew who I was. It was the messages they left to one another. Yeah. Sorry, I brought that. I hope that brought that back to you.
I love it.
Where are we at? We got 5 minutes left?
How much time do we have? Well, I have 2 really questions that I want to ask you for the audience, because we are speaking to so many creatives, all those at Partners Napier, the students here at Edison Tech. So do you ever go through periods when you're just not inspired? You think, God, I don't have an idea for this. And how do you get yourself out of that?
You know what? That's a very good question. Yes, that happens often. That happens very often. As creative folks, you understand that. You know, you hit your sort of block or your wall. How do I get out of it? I try to let. Once again, when I talked about, finding those connections to the color blue and painting the enough wall, I try to let the outside world influence or shape where it is I need to go. Just like with painting the amphitheater black, that was actually an after effect to painting enough on the wall. As I mentioned earlier, when people wanted me to talk, I said, I don't have anything to say. I want to actually create something. So I try to listen into other things that are happening, listen to other people, chime in with other folks, just to find out where is another angle that I'm missing that I can't find. And that's where I try to find that creative jump. You giving us a countdown?
No.
Oh.
You got 10 minutes, did you say? Yeah.
Oh, okay, we got time. Okay.
We're good. So we always talk about, you sometimes you just have to listen, then you have to sort of focus, and then you can activate. Is that kind of like, is that sort of your process, or? Yeah,
I try to listen to others. Yes,
right,
because
listen to others.
Listen to others, because sometimes in the creative process, I can get so caught up in what I can't find or what I can't see, that I'm just stuck in that. I can't see it. I don't get it.
It's not about you often.
It's not about you. Yeah, it's about how do you get this message across, and how is this being interpreted to others. So even just, listening to other people in their voice and in their tone, in their words, you begin to hear things that will connect to the project, the idea, the thought that you need to create that spark and send that sort of that fluid thought flowing into other rivers and tributes, and that will actually connect into the larger body that says, hey, here it is. I've taken all these different flows to create this. Here is what we got. I think that's kind of how it goes.
Okay.
Hope that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does. It does. As creative people, I think everyone can sort of tap into that.
I'm thinking someone's going to jump up from behind this bush, like the Andre show. You know, people be doing weird stuff. Go ahead. You ever seen that? No. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So you talked about being a student here at Edison Tech. So take us back to sitting in that seat for however long you were here, and where you are today. You know, could you ever think that you'd be where you are today? And how did you keep that belief in yourself along the way? You know, just tell us your journey, because that'd be a great story for all of us to hear.
No, that's wow. Let me think about this. So I always wanted to be a creative and create something. That was just, you know, I tell people all the time, I always wanted to be a superhero, but there was no way in hell I wanted to be Spider-Man in particular, but there was no way in hell I was going to be, you know, swinging. I have a whole other story, which I won't get into, about trying to inject myself with blood, spider blood. But I knew there's no way I'm going to be swinging off of buildings. First off, I'm afraid of heights, so none of that's going to happen. But I always wanted to find a super way to connect, and I thought I can connect through creativity and art. So running in these halls, you know, jumping around and playing letter B and playing swap. I don't know if anybody do that kind of stuff anymore, taking people money. I bet you still do that stuff. You're busting people, punching people for nothing. We used to have, never mind. We used to have these little race things that would happen at the end of the year. But I'm pretty sure there ain't too many white people here anymore. But we used to go out there and we'd be fighting, but that's a whole other thing. So I was actually I was in graphic arts, was my shop here, my major here. Back when, this is prior to anything that was, anything digital. So, you know, in photo class, we were actually dodging and burning and Ruby Lip and using the wax machines and learning what kerning is, actually doing the setting that you know, going to the clip art books.
No one learns that anymore.
Yeah, no one knows that
anymore,
stuff. It's
yes.
like, and you know, I did kind of enjoy it. And my teacher here, Mr. Jagla, who did pass away 2 years ago, but he did reach out to me via his wife, and I would harass the hell out of this guy. I would pelt him with M&Ms. I'd talk about his kids. I'd talk about going and messing with his wife. I'd smoke in his classroom. I was doing all kinds of stuff.
You're a bad kid.
I was, but I was curious. I was mischievous.
Just curious.
Just
That's a better way.
But he always would tell me, you know, he was like, you know what? If you'd stop and around, you could actually do something. I'm like, man, I know I can do something, but stop and around. Yeah. And bless his soul, you know, he reached out to let me know that he was proud of me. And he was glad that he had a chance to actually know me and connect, which was really deep to me, to have someone that you felt that you, and I had the moment to tell him thank you, you know, thank you for what you did. Beautiful. But it was those sort of instances of people who actually still believed in you, you know? In the day I was getting kicked out of here, the principal was like, so long, I gotta tell you that story. Who told me, Dorothy Peccarell, she said, you know what, I hate to kick you out of here, but I got to. You've got something, but you got to go. Fast forward to last year, right? I'm doing an event. The Interloop Phil's coming. I got together folks for Sile Street, paint a mural. Once again, bringing community together. Brought people who grew up in the neighborhood all the way. So Sile Street's dynamic has changed from early Italian immigrants to African Americans to Latinos. So I have all these mix of people coming in. And lo and behold, one of the residents was my old principal who threw me out of Edison, Dorothy Peccarell, and she says to me, I'm very proud of you, Shawn, you're amazing. And she kept a note of me telling her something from 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and she kept it in a hand. But these are people who still believe, so this is what life was like here in Edison. I think it was great. I got to hand you a note.
Yes,
well,
there we go.
There we go.
No.
And the winner today is... So I hope I answered your question, but that's how I got
one quick. What advice would you give students today? Which is like one piece of advice.
One piece of advice, and I know people tell you this all the time, but you honestly have to believe in yourself, because sometimes people just aren't going to listen to you, believe in you, or think that you're bringing any value to anything. And you have to be like, to hell with you.
Yeah.
And you have to stick to your guns. I mean, someone like Sharon herself and her success and her business and what she has created for other people, it's one of those things where you got to stick to it, you know?
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's going to get rough and it's going to feel painful. And you'll be like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But you got to stick to your guns, because you once again, when you had that idea, that imagination, you've already created it. You're just going through the process to get there.
Yep, and there'll be a lot of disbelievers along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So I have an audience question here.
Oh, we're taking audience
Hey.
questions. All right.
What future project are you most excited about?
Future project. Wow, there's so many things that are happening. What should I talk about? I could talk about a short-term project and another project. Okay, I'm going to talk about these. I'm going to talk about two projects.
Okay.
All right.
Love it.
All right. One is one that's happening this early summer. Is called Live on the Loop, and what we're doing is in sort of bringing communities together, which I've been doing with this project with my not-for-profit Hinge Neighbors, to bring folks together and discussing what happens in that eventual, that's going to happen in this next fill of Interloop North. So what we're doing is we're going to close off the bridge, and we're actually going to have a celebration, and we're going to create and work with community members to create benches and planters and all these things that will be streamlining the streets and connecting people. We're going to have music and food to celebrate what a neighborhood and community looks like. So any volunteers want to help out with that, please hit me up. I will get to you about that. Another project, I'm on so many things right now, but there's another great project that I'm on with Bergman and Associates, which is reimagining the aqueduct, since that's going to...
Oh, that's amazing.
That's going to be coming off, so
That'll
I'm part of that team. So it's actually going to be
That's pretty cool.
transformational, what happens in Rochester. So please get your input in. I
Yeah.
want to understand where we can go with this. And another project I'm doing is working with RIT, had a meeting with Dr. Munson about pulling all this together, and other folks, is creating a augmented reality mural that happens on the back of the CUE, the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship, and a way to use it as a teaching tool, seasonal, so that students and everyone else can engage. And you can actually, so it's called The Beacon, and two of the mainstays are Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony. So just imagine on the 5th of July, Frederick Douglass actually comes to life and begins to give his 5th of July speech down here in downtown, and anyone can actually view this on their phone. So yeah, I definitely got to talk to you more about that.
Okay, that's his case. Well, I'm a board trustee at RIT, so
Okay, got it.
I've heard a lot about this, and everyone is really excited. So to wrap up, I'm just going to do some rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire.
So, what series are you watching right now?
Series am I watching right now?
watch
On
any-
TV?
Yeah.
God, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't watch it too often. When I don't watch, God, I can't think of anything that it's over. But I love Peacemaker. That was the thing I was watching.
I just heard someone say that.
Yeah,
So good,
Peacemaker.
worth it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. What's the latest book you read?
I don't read no damn books.
Yeah, you probably. Okay.
I look at the pictures. What's the best picture book I just looked at? I don't know. No, the one of the not that I read lately, but one that inspires me is How to Steal Like an Artist. That's a great book.
How to steal like an artist. All right. Awesome. How do you start your day?
Do I really want to say that on camera? No, I
don't know.
I start my day by rubbing my eyes, scratching myself, and I get some coffee. I have to have caffeine in order. No one can't talk to me before anything.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah, I'm like, don't talk to me until I had my caffeine.
Okay. One thing you're really looking forward to.
One thing I'm really looking forward to is these young folks. I want to see these folks on camera, behind camera, producing some stuff in the world, so I could say, hey, I knew those guys when I'm asking you for 25 cents over there on the corner when you're getting on the expressway. Because I want you to be successful. I want you to do this. You're in a great career field, and we need to see more brown people, more women. We need to see people that look like us on and off camera. We need this. It's important. You are the future. We believe in you. Once again, an idea. Someone thought of you when they were walking across the sands in chains. You were the idea, so live it and be it. Someone dreamed of you, and that's why you're here. Believe in yourself. That's what I want you guys to do. Be your best. Sorry.
Absolutely. Oh, this was amazing. Awesome. Thank you, Shawn, so much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.